Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I hope everyone's having a great summer and you're taking some time to enjoy with your friends and family. Just before we get started and while some people are coming in and settling in and whatnot, we'll do some housekeeping. Just to let you know, yes, the most commonly asked question at every virtual event, even now, it is being recorded today, and you'll get a link in the next sort of 24 hours from our team. So keep your eyes open for that. We definitely want to hear from you. Please don't be shy. Submit your questions and comments throughout the entire discussion. You can do that on the Q&A panel there on the Zoom control panel. Obviously, we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end, but if we don't get to you, rest assured, we'll follow up with you afterwards. So, don't be shy, please speak up. And also, chat in the comments. We love hearing from you. So please let us know what you're thinking and any sort of input you might have on the things we talk about today. Anyway, just to introduce myself, I'm Sharon Hyman. I'm Senior Manager Content Marketing for Rio SEO and Forster, and I'm your host today. And as I might have mentioned already, we're already thinking about the holidays, even though we feel like we've only just got a summer. Today, we're exploring emerging marketing trends and strategies for the upcoming 2023 holiday season. This year, with the cost of living crisis weighing heavily on many consumers, some e-commerce experts are predicting that some shoppers may delay shopping in order to take advantage of last-minute discounting, or maybe not shop at all if their budget is too tight. And obviously, other headwinds that I'm sure everyone is aware of include workforce problems, supply chain issues, and so on. We'll be covering those today. But I just want to say it's not all doom and gloom, because we'll also talk about some potential tailwinds, like AI-generated content and the learnings from big brands about delivering outstanding UX experiences for your customers. And yes, although we are framing this around holidays, the Christmas holidays, the strategies we'll discuss today can obviously be applied to any other upcoming holidays. We're thinking Halloween, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and any others that might be relevant in your region or area. Now, time for me to introduce our brilliant experts. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, Jen wasn't able to join us today, but hopefully we'll get her on here soon on a webinar. So stay tuned for that. So today we are slightly smaller than usual. We're being joined by Joe Spurzell, who's Group Director SEO at Horizon Media, and Winston Burton, who's SVP SEO at Acronym. We'll have each of them briefly introduce themselves and share a bit about their background. Joe, we'll start with you and follow up, and then Winston, if you can step in. So thank you. We're really excited to have you with us today. Just before I let our panelists introduce themselves, we're going to run a quick audience poll to see what you think might be your main area of focus this holiday season in terms of your marketing strategy. There are 5 answers to choose from. Please pick one. And while we wait for the results to come in, has anyone had the opportunity to actually do some travel this summer? And for our audience, feel free to drop your answer in the chat. Joe, Winston, you been anywhere cool?
I just went to Sesame Place with the kids and Great Wolf Lodge. So two kid-friendly trips. Nothing two kind of staycation things for a New Yorker. I don't know. What about you, Winston?
Yeah, I actually took the kids to Legoland in Florida. It's great time. We stayed at the Pirate Islands Hotel. We all had a great time. Actually, the food was actually pretty good. I wasn't expecting that. It was like seafood and things like that. But yeah, overall, we had a very good time.
Oh, cool. We might see if we can get the poll questions up, but if we can't get them right away, we'll share them a bit later. Yeah, share the results. Oh, right. Oh, this is interesting. So the main area of focus this holiday season, we've got a clear winner here, is omnichannel with 50% of the votes. Then we've got Google Business Profile with 33% and SEO with 17%. So wow, clear winner. We better crack on and talk about omnichannel, I guess. So that's good because it's our first question. So I just wanted to set this up. We're a couple of years out from the height of the COVID pandemic where BOPIS, contactless payment and pickup were top of mind. And now we've just been discussing before we came on actually about the growing return to office. Joe, talk to me a little bit about how my omnichannel considerations influence consumers' choices for the holiday shopping options. Like what strategies could brands employ to address this aspect?
I think the idea of return to office really brings to light the idea that pickup or in-person pickup from a store might be an option that people are looking for. Basically because, people are not going to be home all the time. During the pandemic, a lot of things were, hey, just ship it to me. I'm always at home. I can just get the box when it gets to my house. People are not going to be home as often if they're returning to office. So I think having those options and having the messaging in all of your different marketing tactics, that there are a myriad options. So they could go pick it up in store, they could have it delivered to their home, they could do curbside pickup, all of those things. I think the convenience is just something that, first of all, people have just become accustomed to in this new era that we're living in. But also just I don't think people are going to be as fluid as they used to with being able to be home to pick things up off of their front step or off of their out of their lobby.
Yeah, definitely. The day of the little note to your mailbox is returning. You have to go to the sorting office to get it.
Exactly.
Obviously, the other thing that's top of mind for a lot of customers is, the cost of living crisis. Every country in the world is experiencing this. How can brands adapt their strategies to accommodate this? Customers are maybe more reluctant to spend money. Maybe they have reduced spending capacity. Like, what can you talk to us about that? That can be for Winston or Joe, but Winston, why don't you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're definitely in the age of content, having content that really, resonates with people. For example, like, everybody's shopping on a budget this year, right? If you're creating an experience for them to learn, like, the next tips and trips to help them, alleviate just some of that pressure, that's definitely going to be one thing as well. The second thing is social, right? Continue to work with your social media team, amplify that voice, right? Get that message out there, have those real-time, interaction with customers. You definitely want to make sure you're engaging in conversations. If there's any, concerns or, things like that, or challenges they're having, definitely providing, quick responses. Look at target marketing as well. Look at your analytics data, right? To really segment your audience based upon spend behaviors, demographics, et cetera. And you really want to tailor your messages based upon specific segments and really addressing what's unique to them and their concerns, right? And of course, we should always have empathy and communication as well. Again, we're in very challenging times right now, and really making sure that you're using messaging, whether it's paid, whether it's organic, that really understands and really supports your customers is really going to be key.
Yeah, just to jump onto the segmenting, I think earlier on in the pandemic, everything was like early and often, right? People are shopping earlier. That was the mantra. I think going into some financial headwinds, you need to do the same thing, because people are going to be trying to buy things when they're on sale. But I think that segmenting those audiences and finding out which avenues, which marketing tactics are reaching each one of those audience, and have your messaging catered to those audiences is going to be the most efficient way for you to not overspend on your marketing needs this holiday season.
Yeah. So it's like a three-part process. You want to test, you want to iterate, and then you want to improve. And you really want to drill down into what's working and what isn't. And some things may work for some segments that don't for others. So, but I think, Winston, you really hit the nail on the head there when you talked about empathy and communications. People feel appreciated when they think a brand understands where they're at, even though you are trying to get them to buy stuff. So it's
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. And then another challenge, another one of these headwinds that we're seeing is like the workforce. This is a big topic. Certainly, I know in the States, it's come up here in Europe as well. We've got serious shortages in very relevant sectors of the workforce. So we're thinking truck driver shortages. We've experienced that here in the UK, retail worker shortages in the US, and so on, as well as the labor strikes, potential unionization that's causing some ruffles among some of the bigger e-commerce brands. Just can you share some tips maybe on how brands can get ahead of these challenges and how they might work through it and get themselves positioned the right way to deal with these things? That's for Winston.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, there's definitely a couple of things we could do. I really say planning is key. Specifically for the holiday time, a lot of brands want things done, pretty quickly, right? You have to plan overall content strategy. Like, for example, whether it's Thanksgiving, and you have some content that you need to, Black Friday was definitely a big, holiday. If you're not planning for that and you're going to put content up a day before, especially from an SEO standpoint, you're not going to rank, right? It's going to take time. In my experience, I've seen a lot of brands make the mistake of taking down landing pages. Those landing pages over time have built up equity, they built up, authority, and you shouldn't really change those landing pages. You'd have the same landing page, and your messaging, should change, right? So that's just, one of my 2 tips before I pass it to Joe.
Yeah, I think planning is definitely the theme here. But also I think planning for the unexpected, because these types of labor shortages are not things that are prescribed, right? They are things that that spring up and we didn't know that they were going to happen. I think we're all thinking that the consumer is going to wait for the best deal because of the financial headwinds, but that may change and be turned on its head if something springs up or they start to experience some issues where maybe there's not enough people working in the store and they did curbside pickup and it takes them even longer to get that curbside pickup, right? So I think those types of experiences will then change their mindset to say, okay, well, actually now I'm gonna start shopping earlier for all of my other things because I don't want to get into this this cycle of not being able to get my stuff on time, because even though there are financial headwinds, I still want to be able to have the gifts that I want to give to people. So I think planning and segmenting for what you think is going to happen, but then also have the backup plans of, hey, if we see that this is moving in a different direction, we need to deploy different tactics. We need to have different messaging. Having all of those things kind of in the wings will make you a little bit more agile as a brand, and will make it so that when the other brands are scrambling and don't have the right messaging out there, you will, because you've seen what's happening and you can change what your tactics are based on that.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Let's if I can ask you maybe to drill down into that. Let's talk specifically about the messaging. I'm thinking it's a bit of like keeping customers. The first thing that springs to mind for me is stock levels. Making sure that you've got that accurate, on your different channels. So tell me a bit about how you think that might play out or can play out.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of experienced this in the recent past, or maybe we haven't. I don't know. It's happened to a lot of clients that I work with. Supply chain issues have slowed down their ability to have things on the shelf. So I think if you're the brand, right, and that the items you're not going to be able to get those items to the store, right, but you're going to have them in a warehouse and you can ship them, but you can't, right? Having the messaging set up so that you can say, change the messaging to be more free shipping focused, to try to push people towards the option that you want them to take, because that's the way that you can actually make a good sale and make a good impression on that consumer. I think understanding your circumstances as a brand is as important as understanding the circumstances of the consumer you're trying to reach. So, I think that will also weigh into the decisions made by brand marketers.
Yeah, that also actually speaks very much to the cost of living question. The messaging around, for example, you mentioned free shipping, right? There's an incentive right there. People, it's another way to induce people to go ahead and make that purchase when they don't feel that they have to pay the carriage charges. I know for me, it's very compelling. I love a free delivery. It might be included in the item price, but somehow because it's a little less visible, you feel like you're getting a deal. So things like that. Okay, Winston, what do you think? Anything around that sort of like tactics, like incentives?
Yeah, I would definitely, utilize social to, help amplify, the messaging. Social, especially, from a SEO kind of go hand in hand, amplification, content is good, but if you're not amplifying what you're trying to say, social definitely is a good amplifier of that.
Yeah. Have you seen that work with your clients? Like maybe you can give us a example of where you've seen that be really effective.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in terms of, for example, you might have a new product that really nobody knows about, new product landing page, and, you work with your social team or your paid social team to, put some paid social support by it. Of course, run some PPC ads on it, just to kind of get the word out, to get some authority to the page, some likes, social mentions, etc. Again, it's going to be used as a catalyst to, from Google's perspective, say, okay, people like it. At the end of the day, SEO is, do you like my stuff? Is it useful to you? Is it relevant? And if it is, people are going to like it. People are going to buy from you.
Yeah. And what about the organic tactics? I'm thinking like the whole, TikTok made me buy it type theme. Like, what's your feeling around that and how you could leverage that as well?
Me or Joe?
Sorry, either of you, but I guess Winston.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely TikTok. It really depends on the demographic. I mean, I think it's, TikTok is definitely, geared towards I would say an audience that's really a younger demographic. So it really depends on what you're trying to sell. If you're trying to sell something that, a 60-year-old my parents would use, then it might not work because they're just not that audience. So it definitely depends on what you're trying to sell. Yeah.
Again, it's about knowing your customer and knowing your audience. And back to that, the classic top of the hour question that we had about segmentation. And exactly. That's a really powerful. It starts there, right, with that knowledge and with that insight. Cool. Okay. You talked about content. It's come up a couple of times. I wanted to get quite granular here and really pick your brains on the 2023 Google Business Profile update on helpful content. It's been quite the topic of conversation. I'm going to put this to Joe. Talk to me about how we could leverage this update to effectively showcase specifically the holiday elements like promotions, hours, other important information. How can we use that? What does success look like? What's your advice there around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the leveraging all of the levers you have to utilize within Business Pro, the most important piece. I think a lot of brands leaves.
Oh, I think Joe's frozen a bit.
Oh, did I freeze?
We lost you there for a second.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So I think utilizing am I freezing up again?
You were okay for a minute. You're okay now, I think.
Okay, sorry. So I think, utilizing the special hours, consumers know later than you usually are, things like that. Offers is especially important. I think it's similar to what Winston was talking about earlier with social. I think also having all of those offers available within Maps is something that's really helpful for a user to understand. They're looking for you, they're trying to find how to get to you or how to contact you. Why not present that type of information to them right there, and let them know, what's available. And then I think also on in addition to that, the Q&A area within Business Profile is super important for brands to be present in, right? You really don't let other users answer the questions for you.
Yeah.
You want to give the correct answer to the user. Are you open on this day? Can I return this? Like all of those different types of questions. Is there free shipping? All of the things that someone might ask within that framework. Don't let other users answer those questions for you. Be present there. Be the answer, because I think that will be rewarded within Business Profile. You'll have better sentiment as well within your reviews and all of those things. So utilizing all of those different channels, I think, and all those different levers that you can within Business Profile, it's super, super important. And I think a lot of brands just kind of ignore during this time frame. They're all very focused on making sure that the in-store is working well and the website is working well, but they're not necessarily looking at the people that are trying to find them or trying to find out more information about them.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, we do say that the best practice is to respond to a review within less than 24 hours. So which I suppose can be daunting if you have a lot of reviews and a lot of locations and all of that, but it's worth it as you say, as outside impact. So
yeah. Even having a process in place for if something is something you can't do, or you don't have the manpower to do, right, have some sort of a canned response that says, please contact us here, or here's our phone number, right? Like get them to the person that can help them, even if you don't have the employees on your side to answer every single thing that's coming through.
It's on the Forster side here, we do a lot of customer experience, and I read a really interesting stat that it's actually not the hold time or the waiting time that it takes to resolve a problem that people object to. It's not being informed about where they are in the process. It's the same idea, right? At the doctor's side, like when you go to the doctors, they move you from the waiting room to like another little waiting room to the actual room, because then it resets the clock each time. So you don't realize that you've been waiting 2 hours. You think it's, I did 20 minutes here, I did half an hour there, I did, so, but yeah, there is that like act as quick as you can. The evidence supports that. Winston, anything you have to add? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so I think Joe hit it, right on the head. Controlling the conversation, again, not to regurgitate Joe's point, but you want to control that conversation, right? Again, a lot of brands, I've seen this, a lot of SEO companies have seen this as well. They just go unanswered. And, to Joe's point, you don't want somebody else answering it. And additionally, keeping your NAP information up to date as well, right? I had an experience recently where I was actually traveling to a store that was actually new for me, and the phone number was wrong, right? And the address was wrong. So I went out to the place and I'm like, oh my goodness, I drove 20 minutes to get out to this place. It's not even wrong address, right? So I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's a bad user experience, etc. So keeping that information as basic as it is really important, and, helps people find what they need.
Yeah, I love that. It's just a reminder to it, the basics work, and they work for a reason.
Absolutely.
Don't lose sight of it in the hustle and bustle of like the shiny things like TikTok or things. Like you got to get the basics right every time as a foundational piece. Yeah, I like that. So now we come to, I know this is Winston's favorite topic at the moment. And we're going to stick with content, but here we go. I'm going to ask you about AI. Obviously, everybody is talking about it. You can't move without seeing it all over LinkedIn. It's all people want to talk about. So, like, what can we do? How can we use it? Like, what role does AI generated content play?
So from my perspective, AI is a good thing, right? We all need to embrace it. It's not anything that's going away anytime soon, right? It's definitely going to make us be, quicker, better, smarter, and more efficient, from a content ideation and strategy standpoint. a human could, generate some content idea. It's going to take some time, right? Computer could do this in a fraction of a second, might not be perfect coming out the box. However, it's an idea starter, right? So you could make it your own, edit it, make sure that it's factually, grammatically correct, etc. And then from a local perspective, from Google My Business, it could help you write all the attributes in a quick amount of time, right? So, you could put in all the information that you need to optimize your profile. I've tested it. Like one of the things that I've tried recently, I know like a lot of people use like ClearScope or, Surfer SEO, some NLP tools. If you take those keywords from those specific tools and you ask, ChatGPT or whatever you're using to optimize this article based upon that, it will do that for you, right? And actually does that for you pretty well. So you go back to the tool and you're like, okay, you look at your grade and you like might get an A+. Again, to my knowledge, like this is kind of like keyword density, which doesn't work, too well. But again, topical relevance is definitely important from Google's perspective. So doing things like that, can help overall speed up the process.
Yeah. Joe, what's your take?
Well, I mean, I think Winston and I both agree. AI is a tool. It definitely needs a human to evaluate it after the fact. I think one of the ways in which I enjoy utilizing the tools are competitive analysis, and also on the
Oh, we've lost you there, Joe. Oh, I think we lost him.
There he goes.
There you go. You're back.
Okay.
You were just about to tell us how you enjoy competitive analysis. So, oh, oh dear. Uh-oh. We'll give him a minute. Oh, no, there he is.
There he goes.
You back?
Okay. I'm back.
I think
Okay.
your Wi-Fi is giving you hassle.
Yeah, it's the kids being home for the summer is bogging me down.
So it's backing up your bandwidth. It's like,
Exactly. I think iterating is the other piece of the puzzle, right? Being able to feed the AI something like maybe ad copy that you're utilizing, right? And allow it to iterate, say, I want multiple versions of this, one to focus on, like things that we were talking about earlier, like one to focus on free shipping, one to focus on pick up in store, one to focus on this, right? And let it spit it back at you, right? Oftentimes I notice that it's pretty good. There is some editing that has to happen, but it's a better starting off point than you having to do each one of those from scratch. It's also faster if there does come a time where you didn't plan for something, right? And and something else did pop up, and you have to quickly try to figure out a way to get new messages out there. But the other side of that is competitive analysis. I think a lot of the things that my teams are doing is being able to quickly summarize other competitors' websites, right? You're seeing somebody maybe appearing before you within organic search, or they're doing better than you in any different way, right? Saying like, what are the main points? What are they talking about, right? And then give them your page and say like, what am I talking about, right? It gives you another viewpoint, whereas it could take a team of people a really long time to read through every single thing, come to a conclusion of what they think is different about their information than yours, right? The AI is just gonna pinpoint, hey, they're talking about these three things, and you don't have any information about those three things. It's like, oh, okay, well that's a really easy starting off point for me to do some optimization. So I think trying to find those places where it can do the manual labor for you, and get you to a place where you can then say like, oh, okay, I can take that and run with it, right? those are the things that I'm trying to pull out.
Yeah. Sweet spot. I just want to do a call back there. You said move agilely with things that you hadn't planned for. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier, right? Like the labor shortages, the supply chain issues. Maybe there's a snowstorm, like things like that. That's a perfect use case where you can leverage that quickness, the speed that you get with AI that you wouldn't necessarily get with a human team to help you do that. Although as a content manager, I do have to just put my 5 cents in, like you still need a human.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Y'all shouldn't just be posting content up there willy-nilly, copy pasted from ChatGPT. So that's my take on it. I still need a job. So AI is a big change. We've also seen like some more like what I would call traditional changes in the last year. One of them, of course, has been the absolute shrinking of ad budgets. Marketing teams have retrenched on spend across the board everywhere. Just want to pick your brains a little bit on like what other channels maybe brands could activate, bearing in mind that they might not have the same amount of money to splash on paid activities.
I would definitely say content. Content's a new cookie, right? Understanding your audience, just continuing to create content, which whatever specific audience you're trying to reach, and being helpful, right? We talked about the helpful content update, right? You just want to create content to rank, not the best idea, right? You want to be useful, you want to be relevant, you want to be giving people what they came to your site for. So, if I'm trying to plan for the holiday, right? Or if I'm trying to save money for the holiday, create a blog post like 24 tips on how to save, $100, by buying something online, right? That's a good thing to do. Again, it's all about being helpful, being useful, and don't keyword stuff it, right? Keep it simple, keep it relevant, for end users. If they like it, they enjoy it, they're going to embrace it, they're going to share it, they're going to tell their friends about it, they're going to link to it, of course, as well.
Yeah. I remember in our practice session, unfortunately, Jen couldn't join us today, but she did bring up the idea of what plays really well is like the customer cares, which is a phrase I love. Yes. For this category of content. What does your customer care about? It's a really simple question.
It's
really
simple,
powerful.
Simple.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
How do I get, what best budget presents are great for a 5-year-old this Christmas? What has bigger impact than, what can I buy my mother-in-law, for $10 that she's going to think was much more money? That kind of stuff. So
I think in that same vein, the affiliate content and look at who your audience is getting their information from and try to leverage them, right? All the content doesn't need to come from you. You also want others in that community to be talking about what you want them to be buying or what you want them to be doing, right? So be helpful, but then also be part of the community, be part of that, be part of your customer base, right? Understand where they're coming from, who they're going to ask, and leverage them. Talk to those mommy bloggers, talk to those those review sites, talk to them, figure out a way to work with them. You don't have to be the only source of truth, and you're also not going to be able to rank for everything, right? Especially if you're a smaller site, right? Sometimes you have to play with other bigger players to get your message out there. It's just the name of the game, I guess.
Yeah, I think that again is about segmentation in a way, right? It's about finding your niche, finding the people that are talking about the stuff that you're selling or what the services you're providing, and leveraging their voice. We've seen a lot of success here in the UK with like what we call micro influencers, people who maybe don't have tens and tens of thousands of influencers, but the followers they have are really, really loyal, and they're really loyal. They're small but mighty. as I would call it. So yeah, I agree, like that idea of a niche play, and pick your battles, right? It's about being sensible with your spend, sensible with your tactics, being realistic about what you can do. So then just moving on to tactics in particular, but particular for mobile, we talked a little bit in our pre-brief about user experience, and we also talked a bit earlier about it. Like, you mentioned to me that there's this real high bar that's been set by some of the really large e-commerce players in the market in terms of user experience. Joe, I'm wondering if you want to speak to how maybe smaller operators could learn from that. Like, what's your take on how to make your user experience memorable, enjoyable, like what works, both planned and real time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not above anybody to steal what's working, right? Look at how they do things. What is the user journey that they have for a consumer? How are they bundling things together? I think some of those big players, and I think we were talking to Jen about this in the practice as well, is like, they've taught the consumer how to do things, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's the way in which, and it goes back to what we were just talking about in the last question too, if this is the way in which your consumer wants to interact, then interact with them in that way, right? If they want to, if it appears that, they really like using this other bigger player, and the reason is because the bigger player says like, oh, if you're buying this, you might also like this, this, and this, right? And you don't have related items, or you don't have any of that information on your site, you should probably start doing it. Or, if your flow to get to checkout is too long, right? And on the bigger player, it's one click and they're already at a page where they're paying for it. You probably want to go in that direction. You're gonna lose out, because if they go and use the other site, they're gonna be like, oh, this is much easier. I don't, why go, why spend all of my time doing that on the other site when I can just do this over here. So I think understanding the way in which your consumer wants to get your product, and then try to mimic the best parts of that. And I think we try to do that in every aspect, right? We try to do that in content. We try to take what they did and do it a little bit better, right? It's the same thing with UX, right? If something is working, do it and try to do it a little bit better. Yeah.
Winston, any suggestions?
Tips? Yeah, so definitely a big philosophy on test and learn, right? Continuing to test and continuing to learn. If something's working, continuing to replicate it into your overall processes, and just learning from it, right? Do some A/B testing. I think definitely working with your analytics team and your audience team to find out, okay, am I targeting the right customer, is really key.
Yeah, I agree. We have time for one last question, which is mine, which I really wanted to ask. It's something that's very close to my heart, is a bit more broader, more sort of, out there industry wide. I'm really into perspective, and I see a very strong shift, certainly in my world, about towards purpose-driven brands. There's a current demographic shift. Everyone's talking about how people want to feel that there's a sense of purpose. So I'm wondering, how does that fit into the holiday shopping? Like what could we expect to see, from that shift, and how can these purpose, and I'm including sustainability as well, which is top of mind for a lot of people, especially in fashion and retail. How can you sort of leverage that in attracting and engaging like the holiday shoppers of 23? Winston, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the attributes that you could put sustainability in your Google business profile. There's about like 16 different categories that you could choose from, and that's very important. In order to give people what they want. So I would definitely recommend starting there, especially the younger generation. They're definitely looking at sustainability. So it's very important.
Yeah. Make sure it's true though, because you get slammed if you're just using it because you want to get pull on somebody's heartstrings. I think additionally, I think we talked about previously, women owned, Black owned. There are all sorts of things. I'd say don't be shy to talk about yourself. It all also ties back to your website as well, right? And your about the company, about the brand, right? Say those things, right? Let people know that these are your your attributes. These are the things that you care about as a brand, as a founder, as whatever it is. You need to put that information out there. You need to own it, because I mean, just saying it in your Google business profile is one thing, but then having that information out there, because like you said, I mean, the shift has been happening for a while now. People are, yes, okay, great, I really like this product, but is this a company I want to support, right? They're gonna be looking at your about. They're going to be looking at all of that information, and they're going to be looking into whether or not you're being truthful about it, right? So they're gonna, I think reputation management is another piece of that, right? You need to make sure you know what's in the search results when someone's searching for that, and if it's false information, you need to be part of that conversation and create a piece of content to combat that. I think that's another piece of the puzzle that
I feel like that's a whole webinar in of itself, reputation management. So maybe we'll split it up at some point. But I just want to totally agree with you, Joe. I feel like tell your story is so important, especially for the smaller brands. Show the humans behind the brand. Like, it's so important. We're all about the human experience here. So that's a really good point. Like, don't be shy. Talk about yourself. Make sure that people feel that there's a real person behind the company. We're actually at time, so unfortunately we don't no time for Q&A, but I did want to say thank you so much, Joe and Winston. I certainly have found it super interesting. I hope everyone here on the call has also enjoyed it. I certainly feel like I've learned a lot. Special thank you, and please feel free to throw out your Twitter handle or let people know how they can reach you. Always happy to forward stuff on as well if we get any questions. I will say, if anyone watching does think of a question afterwards they want to ask us, please don't be shy, let us know. We'll be sure to follow up. Our email is pretty easy. It's hello@RioSEO. So just drop us a note there. You are going to see a survey when you exit the webinar. We look at every response. So please do please do take a moment, give us your feedback, let us know how it went. And thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Winston. And I'm feeling very, very festive already, even though it's August. So thanks again so much. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.